fall, which is to be expected when you have a channel based predominantly around Call of Duty at that point. But XDefiant's launch has been a busy one, and it seems like coming out of the launch that there's some good news to report back for the game and the future ahead. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below on what you're thinking with XDefiant, liking the game so far that you've played, happy to see the game succeeding as it has been. Let me know down below. But if you enjoyed the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for more XDefiant coverage, tips, tricks, guides, tutorials, all of that kind of stuff, along with other FPS content. Like Black Ops 6 is being revealed by this time next week and more. So I'd love to have you in the community as we chase down 600,000 subscribers this year. But anyways, let's get into it. Let's start with the game's launch. Recently, it was reported that the game's success far exceeded what was anticipated internally. It was first and early reported that XDefiant had hit 1 million unique players within 2.5 hours of the game's launch. That means 1 million players downloaded it across Ubisoft Connect on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Granted, a lot of players were waiting for the servers on day one, and it launched during the workday for North America. The game's launch marked Ubisoft's fastest ever game to reach 1 million unique players. For comparison, the massive hit that is Apex Legends, when it dropped in 2019, it hit 1 million unique players in 8 hours, 2.5 then in the first 24. So a more explosive launch by direct comparison to a game that's still going strong 5 years later. Not a bad sign for the game initially speaking, right? But it's actually reported that it got even better as those numbers didn't just fizzle out. It was reported a little later that in 1 week, XDefiant had hit 8 million unique players, exceeding that of the internal milestone set for the game that was a goal of 5 million unique players in the first month. So you far exceed that by 3 million players in just a week's time, as opposed to the entire month that you had set for that. As for the concurrent players, a little under a week ago, it was reported that it was in the 700,000s across PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, with those numbers perhaps growing since that time of publication, but no additional data has been given just yet. Now, those reports, awesome to hear for multiple different reasons, I think. Number one, if you're enjoying the game, that means that many more are as well. Frankly, that's the one thing that I strongly encourage, and you can take as a message directly from me. Just play what you enjoy. That's what gaming is meant to be, bringing enjoyment and some happiness to you as a player. It doesn't have to be a constant chore to play a game, and multiple games can coexist. Between, say, Call of Duty and XDefiant content, I'll see people going at it in the comments. It's all right to enjoy one thing, whereas other people may not. There's no need to expend that energy on something you don't enjoy. Number two, it's great to have more games to play, just in general. I expected XDefiant to do well eventually. I mean, it is a free-to-play game, so there's no barrier of entry, but you have to consider it's a brand new IP. In grand scheme of things, there really hasn't been all that massive of a marketing push for the game. Like COD, Battlefield, other games published with massive publishers behind them, there's usually months and months of build-up and marketing to promote the game. Not saying that we didn't see pockets of time where the game was playable that could have acted as marketing of its own, but like, they announced the launch date of the game mere weeks before it launched, and then still only posted blog posts and social accounts like tweets. There was no global marketing campaigns plastering Times Square, Piccadilly Circus with digital billboards promoting its launch or anything like that. So from a purely organic perspective of people jumping in and trying it out, that's awesome to see that there's enough a draw of the game and interest that it can speak for itself. And number three, as a whole for the FPS space, the higher the player count, the more of the air quote industry competition it can be. Like I've said from day one, the games can and absolutely will coexist. One's a free-to-play game with a more arcade shooter vibe to it and focused around community feedback to build an experience together. Another, when you think of who XDefiant's player base may have that big crossover with, is one of the largest video game IPs in history, with billions of dollars in a budget annually to create and market the game. The two are very different situations. Catering, sure, some crossover in players, but they're not always going to be the same. Like, I'm sure some COD players are not going to pick up XDefiant, and I'm sure some XDefiant players won't touch Call of Duty. XDefiant can survive and thrive based off of being a free-to-play game with a fun experience, and COD can survive and thrive off of that signature COD experience and feel. Plenty of the comments I've seen already is that, yeah, XDefiant doesn't match the fluidity of COD because it's a brand new game on an engine that isn't designed for FPS, whereas COD has been building off of itself for the last 20 years. So, like, there's definitely two very distinguished wings here at this, but even while I think both can coexist and people enjoy games at the same time, any large option of players that has the potential to take away from another game's player base and audience, well, that should, in theory, light a fire under them to end up trying to incentivize play more in their game, which then just proves more fruitful for the player, whether that be more in-game rewards, fair to consumer practices, doesn't matter. It's just something that the more competition there is, it's better for the players. But honestly, the success of the game so far, I think, has been pretty good news, and I think it's a testament to what XDefiant is trying to build. What made it appealing to me was the less serious nature of the game, the simple gameplay loop that anyone can pick up, a bit of nostalgia, sure, a sense of communal interest in feedback from the development team, like they've actively listened to and tailored some of the game to feedback directly from the community. And of course, skill-based matchmaking not being there is certainly a nice thing to have. It's actually hilarious, though, talking about that, how much looking at side-by-side experiences go, how night and day it is. Like, I won't lie, I do think that grinding out pub matches and ranked plays is Modern Warfare 2019 with a matchmaking system that attempts to put you against as many players similarly skilled as you, I do think it's absolutely made me a better, more aware player than I already was, which made that switch to just simply connection-based that much more hilariously night and day to me. Now, do I still have games where I'm fighting for my life? Absolutely. I mean, the last few nights playing at a party, it felt like we were only playing other massive parties with people with Twitch or Kick in their name, so they were going hard as hell, as were we. But especially when solo, it's not every single game like it is in most FPS games at the moment. So I think this game has been a testament to what the industry can produce. You create something fun in a gameplay loop, you tailor it to your player base, working with them to figure out what community works best, because at the end of the day, a happy player is going to play the game even more. You have a connection and matchmaking experience that prioritizes ping and doesn't artificially inflate any skill level, and you have plans to continue pushing forward into the future. It's a refreshing thing to see, at least in my opinion. Again, for anybody that may disagree, that is totally cool. But just for somebody like me that has been enjoying the playtime so far, has been putting in a couple of days since the launch, well, it's nice to see and have this as an option to play among a myriad of other different games. Now, looking forward to the future, I still think that while this game is in its infancy, it has a lot of room to grow. Like, obviously, things like the foundational side of stuff with fixes for netcode and hit rate, spawns, more key pillars of the game like private matches, a ranked mode, and other stuff coming that we've talked about before. With the immediate success by comparison to those internal goals, I also think that this should hopefully secure a future for XDefiant, like long-term support, proving to Ubisoft on the publisher end, not the Ubisoft San Francisco dev team, Ubisoft as a publisher, that, yeah, this actually does have some staying power and can do well long-term. Will it be as explosive as it is these first couple of weeks? Probably not. Every game fizzles out eventually, but still, the player base will be there. Free-to-play is going to guarantee that for you. If there's no barrier of entry, doesn't matter if the game is a year old, 2 years old, or brand new like it is right now. Somebody will try it, and therefore, there's going to be support. But when those numbers are so high initially, well, it might be something that lends a testament to the staying power in the future, which is definitely nice. And I mean, we've already seen some stuff for Season 1 that looks to be really cool. Season 1 detailed so far includes GSG9 rumors for a faction, which ends up including the ranked official release, a couple of new weapons of the LVOA, the L115, the sawed-off shotgun, the maps of Rockefeller and Street Race, capture the flag as a mode, a couple of different things for factions in terms of operators, and then like shield and barbed wire, along with other different stuff in terms of battle passes and other adjustments that are made in the meantime. So obviously there's more outwards in Season 2 and 4 for Year 1 guaranteed, but I mean, looks like we have a lot of stuff still to look forward to in the future. And with Season 1 coming up in just about a month's time, we, grand scheme of things, won't be waiting too long for that. So that's the, I think, good news that we learned about for XDefiant here and the launch and the initial reception of the game so far. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Found it cool. And we're going to get back to some more stuff in regards to the standard tips, tricks, and sort of guides content here upcoming tomorrow and beyond. But just want to share that with you here today. Talk a little bit of news for XDefiant. But anyways,
I do personally like that people ride for a person whose like family is historically communist because she's a woman. Like liberals, they just literally have to be like, well, this is great. It's the glass ceiling being broken. Isn't that wonderful?
Friendly zombie.
Mexico City's Jewish mayor wants to be identified by policies, not ethnicity, like many other liberal secular politicians around the world. Claudia Scheinbaum rarely identifies publicly as Jewish. It was during her successful campaign in Mexico City mayor that Claudia Scheinbaum made a reference to her Jewish heritage. Speaking before a group of Jewish women, she says she was proud of those origins. We celebrate all the holidays at my grandparents' house. For Scheinbaum, the capital city's first elected Jewish and female mayor, the reference to her Jewishness was rare. Like many other liberal, secular Jewish politicians around the world, Scheinbaum rarely identifies publicly as Jewish. You know what, though? Before we get into the weed of this, you know, the weeds of this shit, why not? Let's do a snapshot, okay? Let's get into Mexico election. It's historic. What are the liberals saying? What are the leftists saying? Why is it important? Let's start off here. Let's start off our journey today, not on Israel, Palestine, but instead.
The analysts predict you're close to winning.
Mexico.
Hold on.
Okay. Having said that, from what I understand, she was not great as the mayor of Mexico City. But
anything the hostiles do now is likely too little, too late.
Neither here nor there. Let's continue.
It has been made in Mexico. Claudia Sheinbaum has been elected as the country's first ever female president. She told supporters she would not fail the Mexican people and vowed to reduce violence and improve the lives of women in a country where one of the world's highest rates of
about to lose
femicide.
B.
Huge celebrations in Mexico City main Zocalo, the square there. Ms. Sheinbaum will replace her mentor, the outgoing President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, on the 1st of October. Will Grant is there for us.
A genuine moment of history in Mexico. In a nation where women only got the vote in the 1950s, Claudia Sheinbaum becomes...
Bro, you need to stop sending me censored mem posts when it comes to, like, just in general, okay? Just in general. You guys need to stop it, okay? I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to hear... I don't want to hear from an account that literally will be like, this is the Jewish president. It's like, come on, bro. We know what you're doing, okay? You don't even know what our policies are. Like, Jesus Christ. I'm genuinely confused. Why do you say AMLO is leftist? He's openly criticized the U.S. and brought the Mexican minimum wage up. The economy is going up and doing lots of senior population. Sure, the cartel and crime is skyrocketing. Yeah, I mean, I think, and I said this before, AMLO is, one, very popular for a good reason. It's very popular. His policies are very popular. He's overall, you know, he has some weird takes on a lot of issues, but he is the best Mexico has to offer. Okay. And it seems to me like Claudia Scheinbaum is going to follow through on that tradition. Okay. My question to the people who are you know, beyond critical of AMLO, but saying like, oh, he's bad or he's just awful, because like there's a couple things that he did throughout his administration that I openly championed and said was good, whether it be the renationalization of petroleum, oil extraction, or whether it be the nationalization of lithium. Those are some pretty good things. Overall, obviously not great on the cartel stuff, and people are very critical about the way that the military has been beefed up. Some people say it's good, and the military does a better job and is like harder to corrupt than the local police are. Others say that the military has been violent, suppressive, brutal, and turning into the Mexican government's own version of the cartel. Having said that, however, it seems to me like it is definitely the lesser evil voting alternative with no real alternative whatsoever beyond that. Like, I don't really know. I don't really know what the other... You're wrong on this, like you were with Fetterman.
Your mission is to secure the capture
zone. Am I wrong to assume the censormen pose their pro-Palestinian views from a firm anti-Semitic point of view? Like, they don't care for Palestinians at the end of the day. They just don't like Jewish people. I don't know. It could be a little column A, a column B, but it doesn't matter to me. As soon as someone is like demonstrating anti-Semitic bullshit, I'm like not going to be on board with that regardless. I'm never going to... It's going to take a lot for me to trust someone after that shit. Okay. So... the other thing was wanting to privatize the electric industry. That's how bad she was. Yeah, it's like, what are we doing? You have someone who is like on the aesthetic front, she hits all the markers. She's a woman. Okay, she's a climate scientist.
Going for zone B.
Even on the leftist front, there is a lot of there's a lot of things that AMLO has done, and being AMLO's spiritual successor in that regard is good. Okay. Having said that, what's the alternative? Like the small business owner, the entrepreneur, like the right-wing entrepreneur, the opposition with the interest of like beefing up, you know, the startup culture in Mexico City or some shit. Like, what are we doing? Like, what the fuck is that about?
Capture zone contested.
The first woman to break centuries of male domination over the Mexican presidency, shattering the glass ceiling for generations of women to come.
I do personally like that people ride for a person whose like
But you're a pro.
family is
You'll bounce back.
historically communist because she's a woman. Like liberals have to do this thing where they just literally have to be like, well, this is great. It's the glass ceiling being broken. Isn't that wonderful? The glass ceiling is being shattered. Meanwhile, like, again, grandparents, straight up Mexican communists, dad communist, from what I understand, is like,
Tango's lighting up the scope.
great.
Really coming out of the woodwork.
Primera vez en 200 años.
For the first time in 200 years, women have reached
Friendly's
the
going for
presidency,
Zone B.
she told her 200 supporters in the capital's
I can't condone it, but I get it.
Completely. It's for the women who are no longer with us and those who are still fighting. Not just
I'm
in the
detecting
political
hostiles
arena,
on Zone C.
but in any way where we have conviction as women. To see someone who comes
Capture zone
Yeah, this shit
contested.
is crazy, by the way. Mexican candidate assassinations hit
hold all
grim
capture
record
zones.
ahead of Sunday's
Start making some
election.
noise, agent.
37, bro. Mexico's election is now the bloodiest in its modern history after a candidate running for local office in central
Hostiles
Puebla
on the scope in
state
Zone
was
B.
murdered on Friday at a political rally, taking the
Team
number of
capturing
assassinated
Zone
candidates to
C.
37 ahead of Sunday's vote. Like, it's a little
All
different.
zones in
you know?
enemy hands. Take
The
them back.
situation is a little different. Okay?
Capture
We're
zone
just think they
secured.
have more credibility than Embo. Yeah, I mean, guys. This is like, you know, Giannis Varoufakis posted celebrating her. I'm not like super clued in on her policies at all. But, you know, there's a lot of people that I do trust that I am aligned with politically that are seemingly very excited about the prospect. So I'll, you know, I'll reserve my
Capture zone
judgment
contested.
for
Friendly's going for
what
Zone
she
B.
ends up doing. The real problem is the Marina is getting control of Senate and Congress. They can make changes in the Constitution now. They have full control of the country. Well, here's the issue there, okay?
Zone
Which it
secured.
already did happen, as far as I understand, in Mexican politics regardless, but that could be a good thing or it could be a very bad thing. It's just entirely related to the ideological commitment. It's entirely related to the ideological commitment that the party has to legitimately improving the zero conditions of all people in Mexico. If they have that genuine vested interest, then it's a good thing. If they don't have that, and by the way, this is being done technically through the democratic process, so it's not like I know that there are other aspects of it. For example, the AMLO stuff as it pertains to the Supreme Court, right? I think there was some issue with the court. Having said that, however, I'm not immediately going to be like, oh no, they are too popular, you know? Here's what Giannis said. You should trust no politician, but at the same time, consider everything AMLO did for the poor in Mexico. Claudia is committed to continuing AMLO's policies in favor of those lacking power and wealth, but that does not mean we should not be ready for fair criticism. Yeah. Like, I am going to reserve my judgment for her policies. If she does, when she does inevitably follow
We're
through on
securing
them,
Zone A.
rather than immediately be like, oh, this is bullshit. Because the reality is that
Capture zone
having
secured.
this popular governing mandate,
Zone A under assault.
historically speaking, has actually led to prosperity in the past as well. It has also been incredibly damaging for Latin American countries in the other direction.
Going for B.
And what I mean by that is when it's not actually the democratic process that brings someone in a position of power, but a coup d'etat backed by the U.S. state that then go in and create this massive dictatorship. Oftentimes,
Take the
however,
zone, keep the
when
zone.
a
You know the
incredibly
mission.
popular, a populist, democratically organized movement that ends up working on solving some of the underlying material inequalities, when they actually have this incredible popular mandate to
All around.
operate and they demonstrate a commitment to that goal overall, that goal that got them that popularity to begin with, that yields pretty positive outcomes. And it's not just in Latin America either. This has also happened in the United States of America. Who am I referencing here? Obviously, no one in contemporary American history. I'm talking about FDR. So ultimately, we have this capacity to go, oh my God, this is terrifying. I don't really, what's going on? We have like complete control of Congress and the presidency and there's no checks and balances. And it's like, we're kind of, in my opinion, behaving like American liberals who say stuff like,
Allies on B.
they want to do split ticket voting because they want like a Republican Congress with a Democratic president. I'm not necessarily inclined to immediately say, no, it's good to have opposition in all instances. Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, it didn't just happen before, but like, yeah, Morena is the new PRI is what you're saying, right? But I don't know if like having all of these different representations in Mexican politics has yielded positive results for Mexicans in general. I'm just looking at results. I don't personally give a shit about like, I don't personally care about
gathering intel.
I don't personally care about what these guys are aesthetically presenting or what happens in this situation.
You might still pull this out in the end, but
please say PRI, not PRI.
I don't think so.
Can you sponsor me a visa? Maybe. Yeah, this is a real argument. I used to love the metro system in Mexico City until the roofs started falling off, trains derailing and crashing more often. This is something I have heard. Overpasses falling on top of pedestrians. Now that isn't entirely her fault, obviously. Mexico's crumbling infrastructure is not going to be directly the fault of the last Mexico City mayor, but I have heard from people that she wasn't a very good mayor and more so a careerist. Why are you assuming you know what's going to happen in Mexico, though? Wait, what? Are you talking to me? I'm not assuming that, unless you're talking about the 3-minute ad break that Mexicans are definitely going to see right now. At the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime, 5 pesos. You know? Yeah. Disgusting, lol. What do you mean? Morena is a new PRI. Shut up! It's 50 pesos for me, lol. Okay, dólares, no pesos. Like, the real thing is, I don't think she's going to do feminism, for example. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are like, well, that's a woman in charge now. Like, Mexico's about to be feminist. And I don't personally think that that is going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think she's going to advance feminist causes. Maybe she will. I don't know. But, like, it's the social issues that I don't think, are going to change in Mexico. But I'll take what I can get in terms of like any kind of advancement for the poorest Mexicans. Also, here's the 3-minute ad break now, only for selfish reasons, of course, because like I said, I want every Mexican to be able to subscribe at the top of the hour. So the point is, it's all a matter of what will they do with the popular mandate they have? How did they arrive at this popular mandate? Well, it seems like they arrived at it through good policy, or at least comparatively good policy. I wouldn't say it's the best policy, but overall, making the most of making the most that they could, but the obvious limitations that they have. We often forget how long and how arduous a process it is to change, especially a country like Mexico, which is
loadout updated. The zone secured. Secure those capture
feels like
zones,
it's a piece of land that is governed by a bunch of decentralized, like, no way you're calling Claudia woke. No, that's a meme, man. Jesus Christ. Kind of unrelated, but I remember last elections, Partido Verde literally sponsored a ton of Mexican influencers, and they all pose with the same story supporting the party. Yeah. You're not going to be able to unironically, one, remove corruption as an element from Mexican politics, and two, you're certainly not going to be able to do that in one term, and three, you are not going to be able to dismantle the influence of the cartel. So, But yeah, see, this is what I mean. The metro system didn't have maintenance work for 53 years. And somehow it's not government's fault that the infrastructure is crumbling. They handled poorly, though. That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. It's like a competent governor, a competent leader, a competent mayor would try to work against that, but it's not entirely in her hands. That's my point. And the same went for AMLO as well. So we'll see what happens. People endorsed by AMLO as governor Mexico City for the past 20 years, though. Anyway, let's get back to it. Let's see what the media is saying, and then we'll talk about it.
At the bottom to the presidency, it's so emotional. For me, it's marvelous.
Your chat ate my ass yesterday for saying mate and called me a fake Mexican. I live in Puebla. And I'm called Carlos. I've never been to the USA. Puebla. I don't know. I can't stop saying Puebla. Like, what's his name? When he was talking about the UAW strike, he was like calling Claudia Woke wild. Claudia is the handpick of the current president.
Enemy spy activated sonar
so he can be president forever. Oh my God, bro.
KGB.
Let's continue.
Of such entrenched machismo. Claudia Sheinbaum has achieved is no small feat. Other women have tried and failed, but her offer of continuity to the governing party's social policies, which have pulled millions to poverty, proved hugely popular with the electorate.
Her critics, in
The right-wing liberals right-wing liberal freaks are coming out of the woodwork today. I don't know. I don't know if like there's that many right-wing liberals in Mexico that are like also big fans of mine at the same time, who are just like, all I will point to is this. Where is the alternative? Where is the alternative? In fairness, I think some leftists are calling her a Zionist in the same way that they call AOC a Zionist, just complaining that she's not critical enough of Israel and that strategic ambiguity is a form of soft Zionism or whatever. Yeah, except her positions on Israel would merely be a continuation of AMLO's positions on Israel, and not necessarily born out of her Jewish heritage or whatever the that's my point. So if she does continue strategic ambiguity against Israel, then that is directly a consequence of following through on AMLO's strategic ambiguity. In spite of the fact that there is, as far as I understand, a lot of people in the administration currently that is hypercritical of Israel, and including but not limited to those who have tried to get Mexico to join the ICJ court case as well, alongside South Africa.
I think we all see where this is heading. Time to think about extraction.
Especially by the huge margin of victory. They say our mentor, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, is a populist and an authoritarian, and that the Sheinbaum will govern as his puppet, something she denies. This election has been historic for the values and
Zone A under assault.
Mexico's most violent campaign in living memory. Dozens of candidates threatened and murdered. One of them was the candidate for mayor of Coyuca de Benítez, Alfredo Calera. Shot in the back of the head by
Allies on B.
What is happening with this video?
You're off your game, agent.
Huge security task. As fear she isn't up to.
What is happening?
Security task facing the Sheinbaum. A staggering 11 women and girls are killed every day.
I know they can't show it. Why are they shaking it though?
In Mexico, and her critics fear she isn't up to the task of tackling the problem.
If Sheinbaum wins, I think the militarization will continue increasing. They will keep on having ever so more power. You know, both the military and the narco, because they have been together for decades.
For now, her supporters are celebrating having made history. And once the party ends, most voters want the president-elect to prioritize drug cartel crime over all other issues in her in-tray. Claudia Sheinbaum inherits a nation mired in violence. Her challenge now will be to succeed where so many men before her have failed. Will Grant, BBC News, Mexico.
Brother, those are the kind of people say we are becoming Cuba because you voted for Morena. Yeah.
City.
One can only hope. One can only wish that Mexico becomes Cuba, okay? Like, great. That doesn't sound like a bad idea at all. That sounds like an objectively good turn for Mexican politics. Holy dude, Cuba is doing, you know, all things considered, despite the crippling blockades and endless sanctions that are completely unjustifiable, completely inhumane against the Cuban state by the global dominant hegemonic superpower United States of America for the crime of having a revolution against America's the American-backed dictator. Okay, I would say that Cuba is probably doing pretty good. If Cuba was allowed to thrive on top of everything else, like if they weren't so hyper reliant earlier on the USSR and then beyond USSR now, China, if they could like participate in the global marketplace as one does, they would do even better. Chad, don't you think Hassan should go to Cuba? Because I do. I had the opportunity to go, but apparently they can't. I can't really live stream out there, so I am not gonna go. I was gonna go with like the People's Brigade or something. Like I forget what it's called, but you can't really live stream out there. So unfortunately, I'm a censored man. This was the bloodiest in terms of history of modern Mexico. And who are the victims? Poor people in the majority. Wait, what? This was the bloodiest term in the history of modern Mexico. I'm not ignoring this fact. It's one of the major criticisms that I think the AMLO government has. It's just that at a certain point, you have to recognize it is kind of outside of their control and outside of their power.
This op's a bit
you know what I mean?
for the echelon
Vanessa
playbook, but
Rubio
I'm sure you'll
Marquez
manage.
served as Deputy Finance Minister of Mexico, and I asked for her reflections on this historic moment for the country.
Definitely, this is a huge historic milestone in Mexico for women, of course, but not only for my generation, but for the generation of my grandmother, my mother. It's been only 71 years since women were granted the right to vote in Mexico. We have had 20 women holding governorships in Mexico. I myself was the first deputy minister of finance in the country in 2016. So we have been moving forward, but still it's a lot in our way to find parity at the end. But yes, this is a huge milestone.
She's incredibly close to the outgoing president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. How will she be different from him, though?
I think Mexico has a very strong presidency, a very strong presidential regime, so I think she will be her own figure, but it's yet to be seen where she stands in very crucial issues such as the definition of the democratic foundations of the country, the relationship with the legislative and independent judiciary. How will she come along with this militarization of the country over the last 5 years? Not only security matters, but the military now control the customs and have built a refinery and have built an airport and own an airline. So that's a key issue to define moving forward. And also very key policies such as public finances. We're running the largest public deficit this year over the last 35 years. What the new energy matrix and the new energy policy will be. And also a series of elements in relation to competitiveness of the Mexican economy vis-a-vis
the violence in Mexico is the same propaganda that Trump and the right always say about the place.
Friendly's going for
like
zone
guns
B.
in the USA. Wait, what? I mean, the violence in Mexico is definitely very real. Cartel violence specifically is very, very real. It's not like that's not like a fake problem. That's a very real issue. Just like femicide is a very real issue as well. Those are legitimate problems. It's just that those are such, I feel, the way I look at it is like, it's almost like grading it on a curve, because it's like, what the frick are you supposed to do? Like, there's a 6-year term limit regardless, but beyond that, it's like this has been Mexican politics for a very long time. I don't know how any administration can tackle it over the course of like 6 years. Maybe over like 2 decades, 3 decades, you can like try to chip away at it. Why does Mexico crack down on cartel violence and jail every gang member like Nayib Bukele, the greatest leader of modern human history? Yeah, great question. That would be impossible, okay? Because they have American guns and American weapons and American gear and American dollars lining up their pockets. And therefore, they are, in many instances, more powerful than the military. So you can't really do that. And also, that's not a good solution anyway. Mexico's cartel problem is not one that Mexico itself can solve. Mexico's cartel problem can only be solved with American politics. That is the unfortunate reality of the matter. They get their guns from us, and they get their money from us. We are the market, and we give them guns. So there is no way to solve it internally with you know, internal Mexican politics in general. Okay?
the nearshoring expectation effect, and our special relationship with the U.S., to which we're the first trading partner and the first source of imports.
A lot to pick up on there, Vanessa, but how would you say she defines herself when it comes to her relationship with the private sector? Is she pro-business?
She has said so. She actually today said it so and gave a huge emphasis to having a good relationship with the private sector, because I think it needs to be understood that it's not the public sector who creates employment, it's the private sector, and that you need the private sector as allies for development and as allies in particular for specific sectors such as energy, such as infrastructure, and many others. So we hope she moves forward in this direction, which is key for the competitiveness and for productivity of the country.
Vanessa, we were listing some of her impressive credentials. I wonder if you think that influences the way she thinks, the fact that she is a scientist.
I think that will tell a lot, and she would have a challenge to move from ideology to pragmatism to a more rational perspective of government, and most importantly to an effective government, because this is exactly what Mexicans want. Mexicans want their problems resolved. They want to live in a more peaceful country. They want to end up violence. They want to have employment. They want to be competitive. They want to have access to health and to social security and to education. So the more practical way in which she addresses the most challenging and pressing challenges for the Mexican society, I think is going to determine her presidency.
We can now reveal that Keir Starmer could be heading to Downing Street with a majority of 194 seats, bigger than Tony Blair achieved in 1997.
Okay, we're not done with the Mexico elections. It's almost narco-democracy, by the way. The politics have been very complex in Mexico since it started its inception. No thanks to the U.S. government. Plus, how are we going to stop the narcos when we are the ones funding them by buying their products?
Revealing enemies!
Now the progressives are in power. They demand an end to the system of violence that the right continue to aid and increase through corruption and austerity for generations. Yeah, look, you have to personally grade on a curve. That's it.
On A.
Like, that's what you have to do. You have to analyze the situation, you look at the material conditions, recognize how bad things are, and then see if the people that you're electing are moving the needle in positive directions. As far as the administration goes, there's much to be. There is a lot of things that he ran against, like corruption, and corruption, which is, kind of laughable. And also tackling narco violence, which again did not happen. There are understandable criticisms of increased military brutalization. But beyond that, like I said, renationalization of oil, nationalization of lithium. These are all positive. Leftist leaders and figures in newspapers are saying this is good, but Travis is saying it's bad because the racist families said she sucks. No, I don't think so. I think that there is a understandable growing problem with respect to narco violence.
Don't make this a habit.
AI dubbed a great Univision video of Claudia's big 3 moments in her political career.
Studying physics at UNAM, Claudia Scheinbaum joined in student movements with a leftist orientation, from which came the leaders that would create the Democratic Revolution Party that Scheinbaum later became a part of. However, politics was not her first preference. Upon finishing university, she dedicated herself to research and education. It was not until the year 2000 that a mutual friend recommended Scheinbaum to AMLO for the position of Environmental Secretary of the then Federal District due to her research on pollution. At this point in time, Claudia Scheinbaum was married to Carlos Guimas, who was governing Tlalpan. But in 2004, he became involved in a corruption scandal when he was caught on video illegally accepting hundreds of thousands of pesos. After confessing his involvement, he stepped down from his position. Journalist Elena Chavez stated it was Scheinbaum who reported her husband to AMLO, thereby gaining his trust. Journalist Arturo Ocano states that Scheinbaum resigned after this incident, but López Obrador did not accept it. Instead, she served as his spokesperson in his first presidential campaign 2 years later. Then in 2015, she was elected to govern Tlalpan, now a member of the National Regeneration Movement Party, also known as Morena, also led by AMLO. 2 years later, tragedy struck.
That is literally just being misogynistic. No, Sheltered Rosebud, what the fuck are you talking about? If anything, they don't even give a shit about her or her gender. They care that she's a continuation of AMLO. Please read this without the radfem brain rot that you have. What the fuck are you saying? This has nothing to do with her being a woman. What are we talking about? If anything, this community loves Lula a lot, but we had some of those same issues here during his government growth, a lot of drug factions, increased violence against the black community, increased power of the armed forces, etc. Because it is a positive for women, at least give her the time to prove herself before you jump down her throat. Yeah, again, it doesn't matter. Most people's criticisms in this community literally have nothing to do with nothing to do with her being a woman at all. Okay? The country Mexico is as divided as the U.S. This is our Biden versus Trump. People who support AMLO are called chairos, and the stereotypes is poor people, uneducated. The people against AMLO are called fifi. Stereotyped as white, middle class, or upper middle, out of touch with Mexico. Chat just biased against her because she's Mexican. Yeah.
Domination.
Look, you cannot,
I'll take 3 objectives on your ops stat. Assault them at your discretion.
AMLO's party is profoundly popular. I mean, you look at the elections, and it's like, what are we talking about here?
2, 1.
Like, the
Secure those
popularity
capture zones,
is
Agent.
unimaginable in comparison to like American
capturing
metrics.
Zone C.
So is Modi's though. Yeah, it's a little bit different, don't you think? Like, are we, or unless you're considering AMLO's party to be a fascist one that is running on a platform of fascism. Anyway.
Friendly's going for Zone B.
Past weekend, shout out to Martha Garcia. Unfortunately, national use of minerals, especially lithium, won't happen until the next 50 years. The reason because the previous administration gave both the U.S. and Canada a contract of those resources for 100 years. AMLO managed to cut that contract in half.
Zone
First
secured.
one of you to compare AMLO to Fetterman, then the other say hold my beer and comes out with a Modi take. Yeah. Ultimately, I don't think that I think it's just the best option overall, it seems, out of like any viable parties, and they're pretty popular.
Down. Hostiles on the scope in Zone B. Friendly's going for Zone B. Friendly's capturing Zone A.
is someone who, through their own actions, becomes a constant source of mockery and entertainment. They provide endless amusement, often without realizing the extent to which they're being laughed at. Toby Turner, known to many as Tobuscus, is a prime example of this transformation, from YouTube royalty to a lol cow. Toby Turner was an OG YouTube legend, an iconic figure from the platform's early days. He captured millions with his energetic personality, catchy songs, and comedic sketches, and his various channels covering everything from gaming to vlogs built a devoted fan base. Tobuscus wasn't just another content creator, he was a brand, a symbol of early internet culture.
Hey audience, put it on the butt department. Oh, that's fine, that was an accident. That's very useful, I should use them raw. Intro. The flare post-intro of darkness. Hello. Hello, audience.
But with great heights come great falls, and Turner's descent was both shocking and tragic. Turner's rise to fame was rapid and spectacular. He created hit comedic songs and animations inspired by various video game series, which made him a household name among YouTube fans. His knack for creating this type of funny content distinguished him in what was arguably the golden age of the ever-growing industry of YouTube. However, behind the scenes, cracks were beginning to show. Rumors of personal issues started to circulate, hinting at a darker reality behind his upbeat videos and persona. As we dive into the downfall of Tobuscus, we'll uncover a series of events that led to his status as a lolcow. Allegations of substance abuse, infidelity, and increasingly erratic behavior began to surface, tarnishing his image. His content and personality shifted dramatically, from lighthearted and entertaining to controversial and disturbing. The once joyous and humorous channel became a stage for incoherent rants and divisive political commentary, completely alienating his audience in the process. How does someone who once mastered the art of online virality, whose every move seemed calculated for success, spiral into chaos? This documentary will piece together the rise and fall of Tobuscus, exploring the key moments that led to this transformation.
So you walk into this place and it's got this energy of people all over the place that watch your stuff and they're fans. It's the coolest. I got this bracelet of Minecraft, of my Minecraft character. The Tobuscus. It's awesome.
That is an intro. I learned this in San Francisco when I'm trying to apply for jobs. I'm not saying it's normal. I'm not saying that I'm normal. So I'll see you around. Normally I don't post vlogs to Tobuscus, but I wanted to show you this.
We're on track for mission success. Keep it up. Allies on beat. Secure all the zones. This should be familiar territory.
I'm the devil. I mean, it wasn't even a bird, really. I'll use that later.
Another male YouTuber has been accused of sexual misconduct. This time it is a gaming YouTuber by the name of Toby Turner. He has 6.8 million subscribers on his YouTube page, so he is a pretty big, YouTube celebrity, as some would call it. Allegations of sexual misconduct are coming from a woman who says she dated him for several years, April Fletcher.
A person I dated a few years ago has just made some extremely serious, false accusations about me. I felt like I was stabbed in the back and left to die while the world told me it was my fault. I almost gave up.
Revenge kill. A professional courtesy. Friendlies on beat.
But I didn't. And I want. Do you happen to know
Rogue
the
Echelon
person
agent
who
activated sonar
handles the
goggles.
algorithm situation? Because I would just love to go to their house and just ask them questions. You could even pass it on if you got all your hopes up.
You know, at least you got your hopes up, huh? At least they're up, so you can still get hopes. Yeah. That's something.
And it's less deadly than influenza, according to the Bloomberg.
Zone C is falling. Zone compromised.
I was so upset. I wanted to meet him ever since I saw the whole video where he unfortunately took the lives of a couple convicted pedophiles.
Gathering intel! Revealing enemies!
Allies on beat.
Born on March 3rd, 1985 in Mississippi, Toby Turner moved to Niceville, Florida, where he spent most of his childhood. The environment of his upbringing significantly influenced the person that he would eventually become. His mother ran a daycare, which meant that Toby grew up constantly surrounded by other children. This early exposure to a social environment undoubtedly nurtured his ability to connect with people and thrive in social settings.
Gam agrees that she's better than his mom!
Music also played a pivotal role in Toby's early life. He took piano lessons until he was around 14, which provided him with a solid musical foundation. This early engagement with music would later influence his creative endeavors and give him the skills to explore other musical instruments. High school was a transformative period for Toby. He was actively involved in acting and participated in numerous competitions. According to an interview, he often outperformed his peers, including his friend Alan Richson, who later gained fame as Thad Castle in Blue Mountain State.
I'm so proud of him, because you know in high school, I mean, as you of course, it's always like, Toby Turner first place, Alan Richson second place. So he's like moving up a little bit. Now it's like, Megan Fox, Alan Richson on IMDb, that's how. Thanks for having me. Yeah, stay here, you're not done.
During this time, Toby started developing ideas that showcased his acting and writing talents, laying the groundwork for his future career. However, his initial career path took a different turn when it came to higher education. Encouraged by his mother and supported by a scholarship, Toby enrolled at the University of Florida with the intention of becoming a dentist. However, after a year, he realized this wasn't the right path for him. He briefly switched to psychology before finally settling on telecommunications. This choice wasn't driven by passion, but by the fact that it was an easier course of study, allowing him more free time to pursue his interests in acting and content creation. During his college years, Toby's mother continued to support his dreams. She took out a significant loan to buy him a DVX 100B camera for Christmas. This camera became a crucial tool for Toby, enabling him to start creating videos and providing him a new motivation to pay off his mother's loan.
So I got, all the
Loadout updated. Your mission is to secure the capture zones.
Awesome. I totally owe her.
That new loadout smell.
Where's Mom? She knew better.
Ally capturing Zone B.
I want to move her out from it's getting worse. So I want to bring her to shut up.
Friendly's moving on Zone C.
No wonder you had to leave this area and go out to LA.
Capture zone contested.
It's kind of a new thing. That's why I'm like, oh my god, and she's fine. But it's like mad. And she's really helping me out.
Toby's understanding of the internet and his early forays into content creation were also significant. He even created a website where he humorously challenged other people named Toby Turner. In May 2006, he launched his first YouTube channel, followed by another one in June under the nickname Tobuscus, which was a nickname given to him by a high school friend. Making money on YouTube was not as straightforward as it seemed at the time. Toby initially found success on MetaCafe, a video hosting site that paid creators based on its view counts.